Everyone seems to pretend that they know what's best for everyone. Everyone else. All the other individuals out there. Take out my earbuds here. Don't want to leave them. That's the only thing about earbuds. They're easy to lose. But mine are red, so at least I can find them. I'm sitting here in this park. It's got all these beautiful flowers. There's several different... I don't want to pick one. That's just not right, but I'll just show you. These little daisies, and then dandelions. And yes, dandelions are flowers too. They're not weeds. Weeds are in the eye of the beholder, my friend. I consider cannabis a flower. Some people would consider it a weed, which is why it's called weed. But anyhow, sitting here in this park, waiting for traffic to die down, and I found this really cool rock that has this area map. It's like carved into it. I made a little video of it. It's probably before this one uploaded, but shows kind of the subduction zone in the Juan de Fuca plate going under, the Pacific Northwest, and shows the rivers in Portland. And I was just sitting there having a thought, and this lady with a dog was walking by on the trail, and the dog was, yearning towards me, golden retriever, and she's like, "Can she come say hi?" I'm like, "Yeah, of course." So she came over, and I pet the dog, and really friendly people, friendly dog, and we got to talking about dogs, and told her about my husky, and we were talking about kind of the different personality types of dogs. I ended up talking for like 10 minutes just about life and different parks, and she was talking about finding this place called Molten Falls, a really cool area up north by the Lewis River, and but she'd never been all the way to Mount St. Helens, and I was telling her she should go because it's worth it. Just the interaction with a local, having a conversation about local things. And it got me to thinking about, just how much of that is lost in today's world. How it feels like if you don't go out and experience life and talk to people, then you're going to feel like people are just selfish, greedy, closed-minded, idiotic, because the internet makes it seem that way. I don't feel that way because I know I talk to people. Most people are just normal folks. They may have some inner thoughts that they might unleash online, but that gives a really skewed view if people think that that's how folks actually are. And during, the pandemic and the last election, people got very divided over the dumbest things. And they matter. Yeah, politics matter. Viruses and the things that happen, lockdowns and shit, those things do matter. There are problems. But the way that we instantly separated ourselves from half of the other, half of the population, it says more about us than the situation. But when you get out and you actually talk to people, you find that most people are pretty kind. Most people are pretty cool. Most people have a great ability to have random conversations with strangers. And I feel like if we could just get over this current hurdle, I feel like our society isn't necessarily falling behind, but rather we're not losing connection. We're just building a new type of connection. And there's always a little bit of noise in a new system. There's always some glitches in a new software or any new system. So they say you never buy the first model of a car, right? You wait until the kinks are worked out. Well, internet world and our current society and the way that we're going about things hasn't been worked out yet. What is etiquette? What's proper? How should you talk to other people? A lot of folks have never had these experiences and never learned how to have a normal conversation. That sounds, silly, but it's true. Like, especially a lot of younger folks today, they were never forced to play with a group of other kids unsupervised, right? With all the helicopter parenting and everything we have, it's almost like parents, they want so bad to protect their kids that they're always watching over them. No, you can't stay the night over here. You can't do that. You can't hang out with this person. Dude, I hung out with some of the meanest and harshest troublemakers in my neighborhoods, and so did my brother. And we also a lot of my friends' parents thought that I was the troublemaker, the teenager with the mullet. One of my best friends, Scott, his parents didn't like me. My other friends' parents didn't like me. They thought I was a bad influence. The truth was, their kids were the ones selling me weed. It was this illusion that we have that certain people are bad because of the way they look. Well, today, because to some degree that does matter, how a person looks. Because as much as we say don't judge a person by how they look, we all know that's bullshit. You are going to judge a person on how they look. Now, I'm not talking about their race or whether they're male or female. But the fact is, if you're dressed like a complete bum and you don't take care of yourself, people are going to judge you. And it's not always something that you can't control. Sometimes you've chosen to live that way, right? And it's hard for people to have empathy if a person chooses to live that way. Circumstances aside, yeah, we all have problems, and some people are really in dire straits and they have mental issues, but you still have to judge a situation. You're going to judge a person, whether this person is a danger to you or whether you should interact with them, at all. So I think denying that is just denying our nature. But once you've made that judgment, that's when the real work comes in, of being able to analyze that judgment in real time, and within a minute or so, make a real assessment about this person. But first, have a conversation with them. Ask them who they are. Ask them their circumstances. People will lie to you, sure, but once you learn to read people, you find most people are good regardless of how they look, how they even act on the outside. In other words, I've made friends with most of my enemies. Anybody who attacked me online or in person, I've always ended up shaking hands with them in some form. The funny thing I found is online, when I was trolled early in my YouTube, career, that's a joke. When I first started making videos, I had this dude that was attacking me because he believed he was some reincarnation of Jesus, and I was like this guy who was sharing these demonic things because I was into the occult, sharing a lot of different occult knowledge, Manly P. Hall and the Rosicrucians and all these things. He really hated it, but the fact I responded to his comments was what kept him going. And this went on for a year or two. And I would kind of tease him and try to troll him back. But in the end, I sent him an email saying, hey man, a personal email, right? Not in some public sphere. Because back then you could post response videos on people's videos. It was chaos on YouTube. I loved it. It was so fun because everything was real. There was no process-produced shit. You got no AdSense revenue. You couldn't get a Patreon or anything like that. You just made videos because you wanted to. So all the videos were just put there for free because people wanted to make videos, not just to make money. And it really was the golden age. But yeah, we'd argue back and forth, and people would put links, and there was no block on links. There was no block on direct response videos, so it would show like a thumbnail from your video under their video in the comments, and you'd click on that video, and it would take you to your response to that video. Then there'd be one on yours, which was a response to that, and it just went on and on. But this dude, I realized in the end, once I sent him a personal email and said, hey man, I'm on a metaphorical handshake in a way. Gesture of peace, dude. This is kind of silly and ridiculous. And it was pretty long, but I'd actually handwritten him like a 4-page letter once. That's how serious I was about I think it was handwritten. Yeah. I was like that frustrated, and then I realized how dumb it was for me to care. He'd even made a video using one of my kids in it that I'd posted, where I was sharing my kid talking about, McDonald's or something. I was pointing out how he didn't know what at McDonald's the M was, because I was like, what's that M? He's like, I don't know, because we don't take him there. And I was like, and the guy responded with something how it was satanic or something, and I was teaching him satanic alphabet. I don't know, but I bought into it, and he reposted the video with my kid. Well, when you hear about what happens to people today, they get death threats. I've had death threats. I've had people threaten to kill my family on YouTube. Like, I had a dude, message me and email me and say he was gonna kill my family and me. Like, that kind of shit you take seriously, but you can only do so much with it. It makes no sense to you. You realize most people are just reaching out, lashing out in the most extreme way that they can imagine. I have to move because now the sun has moved and I'm cold. So if I sit in the sun, I can stay warm. There we go. So anyway, yeah. They're playing pickleball over there, I think. When I walked by, I was like, that's become a thing because it's a thing, because it's a trend, and how humans are like that, very social creatures. Nothing against it. In fact, anything that humans do, any sport they take on, where they're working as a community, I totally understand. Like, I make fun of sports. I don't like watching any professional sports, football, basketball once in a while, that's about it. But I'm not interested in any sports, and it's not because I think sports are bad as a whole. I think that certain sports are good, as long as they're not harming you physically too bad, because there are a lot of regrets when people kind of overdo it. But I love, like, ultimate frisbee. It's one of my favorite things to play. But some sports are very demanding and very dangerous, and can, lead to concussions and all kinds of shit. I mean, football is not something I consider a very awesome sport, but some people love it. My problem is how it's commercialized, most sports, and how people take advantage of others, and how the players make way too much money for what they do, and how it's more of a show and a commercialization than anything. And it just, and it's the cheating. There's cheating. And cheating, to me, I want to make this clear. Here, it's an interesting kind of side note. Cheating to me is like the dumbest thing that I've never understood. I've made it a point that in my whole life, as long as I can remember, I have never cheated at a game. Ever. Not even once. Not even a little fib or, a Scrabble tile or a card that I dropped. I've never cheated, and it's because I was taught somewhere along the way that cheating makes you feel like shit. And I'm sure it was my dad, because we played a lot of games and he was very serious about being honest. And I realized how important that is, and I've instilled that in my kids. And the reason I think that's so important is because people cheat in their daily activities, their work, and their the way that they do business quite often. And cheating, to me, is the worst thing you can do to others in your society, because you're screwing somebody else over unfairly. And if you play the game fairly, yeah, it can be painful. You don't always get rich quick, but you can, if you're smart enough. Some people just don't want to be smart. They just want to be rich. But I think that those people are the minority, if you will. It's like most people, as I'm watching these people play tennis and pickleball over there in the courts, I'm like, they just want to play to challenge themselves. That's the idea. Most people who play sports just want to beat their own best, but also take it competitively, because otherwise there's no point in playing. It's a test of endurance, a test of human will, but it's more than that. That was my whole point of this. It's not about the will or the tenacity or even the money involved. For people, the reason most people love sport so much is because of the camaraderie. And having friends, having connections, having a community surrounding something is so important to people that they even bond together in things like QAnon communities, where they actually believe that bullshit, or where folks fall into, various conspiracy theories, or cults where they believe in any one leader. Like, look, the fact that intelligent people fall for cults, and everybody knows this is true, should give you pause if you believe something to be true that might not necessarily be true. In other words, we all want to believe that the things we think are true are in fact true. But if we really look honestly and realize how often we've been wrong in the past, as well as the things that we actually don't know, the Dunning-Kruger effect, if you will, we realize that it's okay to just say, I'm not sure, and I'm going with that, and that's my final answer. It's amazing how people look at you when you just say, I'm a human, I only know what I know, let's have a conversation. And that's all you can do, just have a conversation. What else is there? Anyway, who am I? I'm just some guy talking to myself at the park, right? I hope you all have a wonderful day now. I think I'm going to hit traffic now. I stabbed myself with a nail gun yesterday and it really hurts, but I think I'm recovering okay. I'll see you all next time. Be well now.